Hello and welcome to the Conscious Shift Network. My name is Tracy Kern and I will be your navigator today as we venture down the rabbit hole of possibility with Ricky Roberts. Ricky is the author of 4 books titled You, What Really Matters, Where Did the Gift Go, and Awaken the New You, A Path to Transformation. He is a youth advocate, speaker, visionary, and the founder of a nonprofit organization called You Are Valued. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
You have an amazing story. Would you mind sharing with us a little bit about how you started down this adventure of You Are Valued and all of the amazing books that you've written so far?
For me, it started as a young person, really. I was someone who was filled with a lot of hurt and anger, bitterness, grew up in a dysfunctional home. Father wasn't around, the typical broken home type family. Witnessed a lot of abuse on many levels, and through witnessing that abuse, it had a big impact on me with the perception of love and what it meant, where my place was in the world. And I guess the catalyst, really the shifting point for me in starting to write and ask, how can I give back? How can I make a difference? What's my purpose? Was a incident that happened at 17. I was in a street fight. Make a long story short, I ended up stabbed 9 times in the hospital, laying there with doctors and nurses all around me. And at this point, it was, I didn't really care if I lived or died. And that's how I was living my life. And when I was laying in the hospital room, it was the first time where I felt fear. I realized I didn't want to die. I started to feel this presence of my life, and the fact that it was potentially gone. I started to feel this fear, and there was this chaplain that came into the room, gets his way through the doctors and nurses, and I'm laying there looking up at the lights. They're staring down at me, freaking out.
You're giving me goosebumps right now.
Well, good.
Yeah.
So I'm laying there, tubes up my nose, down my throat, into my arms, and this chaplain comes in and makes his way through the doctors and nurses. And at this point, I get really afraid. I think, this is the only thing I knew about a chaplain in a hospital is...
That's true.
This is it. He's praying my last rites, what's going on, and... he comes over and puts his hand on my head and said, "Everything's going to be okay, son." And in that moment, I felt a peace that I never felt before. I knew I was going to be okay. I knew I wasn't alone. And for the next 6.5 hours, doctors and nurses worked on me. Then I went into recovery for about a week and a half. And in that time, I just reflected on my life and started to think about everything I experienced, all the ways that I was letting my pain and bitterness, my experience as a young person, direct the focus of my life. And I just began to question, why am I still here, and what can I do with my life, and how can I give back?
That's a conscious shifting moment in life.
Yes.
A great way to say that.
And conscious shift, from that moment on, I chose. It wasn't like, I feel this thing and all of a sudden I'm going to go out and start writing books and doing this. It was this choice to start the journey of transformation. You Are Valued is it's a movement of inspiring people to see the value in who they are and appreciate the same in others. I believe that when we feel valued, when people feel valued and believe in that and the greatness in who they are, it's an organic process to be a better person, and then from there to want other people to feel that same way and treat other people with more kindness and love, and that motivates the desire to live their fullest potential. Mm-hmm. And linking that back to my story, when I started to see that I was a person of value, I had worth, I had something to offer the world, is when I started to open up to the potential of who I was and what I am capable and what we're all capable of doing. When I was broken and when I was hurting other people and I was doing things that weren't healthy, I didn't see the value in who I was.
And if you were never taught to ask the question, how would you know you're supposed to?
Right.
And if everything in your environment tells you not to ask that question or not to even think that thought, how would you know to?
Yes.
Which is what I think is really great about what you're doing in the school system, because that's incorporating that conscious thought.
Yes.
So thank you very much for tuning in and for venturing down the rabbit hole of possibility with us today and Ricky Roberts. If you'd like any more information about Ricky, you can find him online at rickyroberts3iii.com or at youarevalued.org.